Christmas time. Christmas time is here. Even if you don't celebrate Christmas, you're likely familiar with Charlie Brown's Christmas. Charlie Brown, who Pigpen says is the only person who can take a wonderful season and turn it into a problem. As usual in that story, Charlie Brown is depressed, this time because he just can't get into the spirit of the season and is really bothered by his self-centered friends and all the commercialism around him. And in the end, he evokes the spirit he is looking for by insisting on buying and taking home the smallest, barest, sorriest little Christmas tree. It may be a long way from his vision, yet it is the spirit of simplicity and belonging that's important to him. So choosing that little tree is a start. I think most of us can identify with Charlie Brown's angst. Oligarchs and narcissists seem to be flourishing, and it is downright depressing. We despair. Everything feels off. You know, if our holidays include celebrations, and even if we can afford it, it feels wrong to load up on special foods or to buy presents when so many can't. Even enjoying the night sky or reveling in a snowfall sometimes feels like we're ignoring the all too real problems around us. Good grief. And now we're supposed to choose hope? Well, it sure seems like the earth is telling us to do that. The earth is turning us toward the sun, seeming to insist that we pay attention to the coming light and to see the possibility of change. You know, as far back as we can see, humans have created rituals and told stories to reinforce this message. The sun is coming. At the darkest times, we humans have found ways to tell ourselves that the trouble won't last always. But it's a mixed message, right? You know, winter solstice has come and now gone, and the sun is still not going to rise any earlier, not yet, not for a few weeks. So we tell ourselves, just wait, it's coming. The mornings will be brighter soon. The darkness won't last. To somehow tolerate that waiting, we find and we tell stories that encourage us to keep hoping. You know, the story of Hanukkah that Zola told is one example. For the Maccabees, even though their most holy and important place had been destroyed, and the people had been through a brutal battle, and even though there didn't appear to be enough oil to keep going, hope continued. And while it's rooted in the Maccabean revolt, that's a historical thing, and in the mystery and the miracle of the oil, it surely means something that Hanukkah often falls near the winter solstice. Its candle-lighting rituals parallel ancient solstice traditions celebrating the return of the sun. There's a reason to hope. It's kind of similar with Christmas. You know, although we cannot know exactly when Jesus was born, if he was, there are clues in the story, like the presence of the Star of the East and shepherds being out tending the flocks, that would indicate he wasn't born in the winter, but in the fall. So it's also likely not a coincidence that the birth of Jesus, the coming Son, S-O-N, is celebrated at this time of year. After all, it just seems the right time to focus on increasing light and hope. And there's another ancient story about hope. You know, lately I've been enamored with the poetry of Rosemary Watola Trommer. I think those of you who are sometimes at weekday meetings may have heard me repeatedly use her poetry to light the chalice recently. And not so long ago, she posted a poem about Pandora's box. And it got me thinking. Do you know that story? Pandora's story, it's from Greek mythology, is more than a little problematic, you know, in that, like the story of Eve, it blames women for all the world's ills. And it suggests to us that curiosity is dangerous. And in addition to that, the gods in the story are capricious and conniving, just using human beings as pawns. But if we can put all of that aside, there is really a beautiful metaphorical aspect of the story. You see, Pandora, who's the first human female in Greek mythology, is given this sealed box by the gods, and she's told not ever to open it. Curious, and not knowing that it contains all the sickness and sorrow and suffering of the world, she just can't help herself. And she opens it. And all of these terrible things fly out: sickness, death, suffering, hatred, all of it. And she slams the box shut, too late to keep the evil at bay. She does manage to keep one thing in the box, one thing. And the one thing that she's able to save and to hold on to is hope. And so the lesson is that when all seems darkest, we still have hope. It is, of course, impossible to keep all our troubles boxed up. None of us can do it. We can't keep them hidden from view where they're unable to touch us. Suffering is just part of our human experience. And yet we have this incredible capacity to love and to wonder and to experience joy and to hope. It's just like the winter holidays. They are beautiful, they're celebratory, but they're also hard and complicated for all kinds of reasons. And our winter stories contain grief and loss and struggle and pain, which is also true for us, especially right now. Our current story is one of fear and of rampant authoritarianism, of inhumane treatment of our friends and neighbors, and out of control consumerism and wealth accumulation by the very few, while the poorest are unable to buy groceries or health insurance. So what do we do? You know, to hope really is to wait for something that's not here yet. We hope, waiting for something else to emerge. You know, right now many Christians are marking Advent, which is a time of waiting and hoping. I think these two things come as a pair, hope and waiting. But in saying this, I don't mean to say, you just wait, as a way to disarm or threaten your justifiable anger and unrest. And I don't mean to say, come on, be content with what is, in order to cool down or to take away your power. And I don't mean to say, sit tight and don't do anything. What I mean to say is simply that hope is inextricably linked to things and outcomes that aren't here yet. And so to hope means to make our waiting an active thing. It's waiting through the time that it gets from here to there, still trusting that we will get from here to there. Active waiting and active hope. The late Joanna Macy put it this way: active hope is a practice. Like Tai Chi or gardening, it is something we do rather than have. It's a process we can apply to any situation, and it involves 3 key steps. First, we take a clear view of reality. Second, we identify what we hope for in terms of the direction we'd like things to move in or the values we'd like to see expressed. And third, we take steps to move ourselves or our situation in that direction. The guiding impetus is intention, she says. We choose what we aim to bring about, act for, or express. We choose it. And rather than weighing our chances and proceeding only when we feel hopeful, we focus on our intention and let it be our guide. End quote. To hope with intention. To hope while waiting for strategic partnerships to form and at the same time seeking them out. To hope for big change while doing the small things we're able to do, even if it's something as simple as choosing the smallest, barest tree. It's seeing that while there's a distance to cross, we can take steps to get from here to there, to that place we want to help to bring about. So hope is not a passive waiting. It's not compliant or resigned. It simply understands we're not there yet. We have to wait, but we don't have to be compliantly patient. It is ours to have a vision, to see what's possible, and to use our hope in order to act. My colleague Gretchen Haley once wrote about Hanukkah, which ends tomorrow, in a way that's really helpful for me. As you heard, Hanukkah is the celebration of the survival of the Maccabees, who were under the thumb of the Greeks, the Assyrians. And in order for them to rededicate their temple correctly, to hold on to this sacred tradition, they needed 8 days of oil, but they only had oil for one night. Now, the usual story tells the miracle of how the lamp was able to remain lit for a whole 8 days, even without the required oil. But Reverend Gretchen says that the miracle is not so much that the oil lasted, but rather that the people continued to light the lamp, even though it appeared hopeless. The miracle is what the people did. Things can appear hopeless. We all know that because we've been there. We know what it feels like to be hopeless, and yet it is ours to move on and to try to see that different future. It's like a friend of mine recently returned from a trip to Iceland and said, "Don't go there, it's too dark." But then she went on to say, "But I loved it. I want to go back when there's more light. Go to Iceland when there's more light." She knows and she trusts that the light will return, that there will be a time when there's more light. And that reminded me of this lovely little children's book called Welcome Back, Sun, that tells the story of a little village in the far north of Norway where the sun disappears fully for 6 months. Totally disappears for 6 months. And the people in that village tell a story, an old legend, about how when the sun left, it was brought back by a little girl who went to the mountaintop to call it back and then led it back to the people. And so each year in early spring, the whole village climbs up the mountain in the dark of night. They go up there to welcome and call the sun back. And the closer they get to the top of the mountain, the more light comes into the sky. Their legs are aching, they're breathing hard, and still they climb. Until suddenly, the sun just appears. It flashes brilliantly off the snow and the ice. "Welcome back," they shout, and they're filled with happiness. "Welcome back, sun." You see, even though they trusted the sun would return, they didn't just wait for it. They took the journey to meet it, to bring it back to them, and to celebrate. So here finally to close is that poem by Rosemary Watola Traumer, the one that inspired my reflections today. It's called Present. I open the moment as if it were a box. And shocked by the cruelty that I find, I want to close the lid, want to pretend I don't see the tears, don't hear the children screaming. I want to not feel my heart whacking like a club inside my chest. In the myth, Pandora closes the lid on hope and keeps it locked in. But more than I want to close the box, I want to keep it open. I want to stay with the ache. I want to be with what is real. What is real, I keep the box open. What is real, there is no box. What is real, sometimes I fear there is no hope left. And sometimes, when I am very still with what is, hope flutters inside me. How? I don't know, but its small wings open like prayer inside my breath. May we be present to what is, that we may, in so doing, open ourselves to hope. And may we meet it halfway by speaking up for the littlest tree, by lighting our lamps, and by acting to bring about light and warmth for our community and for all the peoples of the earth. May it be so.